Hi there, I'm Paul Moore. I'm a technical agile coach with Rocket9 Solutions, and I'm going to talk about something that I've heard from some teams and from some managers where they talk about test-driven development slowing them down. And in my experience, that's not been the case at all. In fact, I feel that TDD speeds me up, and I'll show you why that is. So if you look at it from the outside, it may seem pretty apparent that we're going to take a certain amount of time to write some code. And with test-driven development, we actually write some unit tests before we even write that code. So we write the unit tests first. And that some amount of time is actually going to be longer than just writing the code on its own. But that's not the whole story. So if we naively look at the amount of time it takes us to write that code and then verify what that code is doing after the fact, in my experience, it actually takes a lot more time to verify the code when I test after. So in cases and systems that I've worked on, I've had to do integrations with other people's codes. I've had to request build environments. I've had to load data into the system, possibly even writing custom SQL scripts. I've had to launch services, launch applications, set breakpoints, set logging levels, deploy the application, navigate to where I want to be at, and then finally I can test my feature. And in my experience, doing this test last is actually a lot more time than doing test first. And in fact, because of the burden of the time that it takes to test after the fact, I don't do it as often. And so I start to speculate about what I might need to have in the code, and I end up writing more code as a result of that. So if it's so obvious to me why test first is better, why don't all my teams do it? Well, what I found is test first and test-driven development is like any other skill. It's kind of like riding a bike. It's kind of like learning to drive, that it's not something that we do naturally. It's something that we've got to practice, something that we've got to work at, and something that we'll get better at and see the results of once we've gotten that skill under our belt. And so in the test first case, that literally means writing the behavior as a failing test in our system, and then writing just enough code to make that test pass. And we go through this cycle of writing a new test and writing just enough code until we're convinced that the whole feature is written. And once the whole feature is written, we've pretty much got all the tests passing. And when all the tests are passing, then we have the confidence to go in and start making the code consistent and clean. And of course, as we're making the code consistent and clean, we've got the test telling us whether we've broken anything, whether we've started to violating the behavior of the system. And it's this style of development that most people aren't accustomed to that I think is slowing them down. This learning a new skill, this learning a new practice, that when they first try it out, it is actually going to be a little bit slower. But once you've got it under your belt, I feel that it does actually make you a lot faster. Again, I'm Paul Moore. I'm a technical agile coach with Rocket9 Solutions. I help your development teams learn how to do TDD because I do feel that TDD actually makes me go faster.